Hi, my name is Gal Kosi for Regent Park TV, and today we are here at the Regent Park for a Black Lives Matter event, and we will be interviewing a few people on what is going on right now in the Regent Park and the construction sites and just everything to do with Black Lives Matter in Toronto.
So my name is Joanne Warner. I'm a resident of Regent Park. I'm the founder of Regent Park Black Lives Matter Coalition with the support of Peter Scott, Waleed Koalaji, who is the co-founder of the Coalition Against White Supremacy and Islamophobia, and Kumsa Baker, who is a part of the Toronto Community Benefits Network. Why do we have a Regent Park Black Lives Matter Coalition in Regent Park? Well, for several reasons. We still do have a Black community in Regent Park. Regent Park is revitalizing, and we've found out through data that the Black families are being pushed out of Regent Park. But not only that, we had an incident in our community where a noose was found on Daniels Corporation. And for me personally, having a great-grandfather who worked as a lawyer in New York, who either represented the mafia or the government, he was actually murdered. So the noose, for me, that's hung in Regent Park represents, it's an insidious, evil reminder of how Black peoples were slaves, how we didn't have a voice, how we had to jump to the tune of our slave masters. So upon hearing the news of the noose, and because of what's going on around the world, particularly with what happened with George Floyd, I pretty much had a dream that we need to do something here in Regent Park, because we've lost our Black community has lost our voice. And so being encouraged by Michelle and Barack Obama and Rhiannon Trail, who's the CEO of the Economic Club of Canada, I realized that I had to do something about it for myself. And a big part of the storytelling of the conversation actually came about from Michelle Obama when she shared her story in 2017 here in Toronto at Ryerson University. And I am a Ryerson alumni. And so 2020 was the year and is the year for me as a Black woman who was raised in Regent Park, my father and my mother, who are instrumental in Regent Park. My father worked for the City of Toronto back in the 1970s for Parks, Forestry and Recreation, cleaning the streets of Regent Park and Cabbagetown and Parliament. And so we've got to get back to our roots. We got to appreciate and respect our elders, but we also need to help our youth, because our Black youth, and not just Black youth, this Regent Park Black Lives Matter, it's not just about Black people. It's about all people having justice and equality and freedom, from our Indigenous community, from all people that are racialized, people of color, your Chinese, the Jewish community, the Hispanics, the Puerto Ricans, all racialized communities. So what Regent Park Black Lives Matter represents to me is representing all people, because Regent Park is a diverse community, and our diversity really is our strength in Regent Park. But if we don't find our voices, if we don't work together, if we don't know who we are, and we don't remember our roots, we can't go nowhere. We can't overcome anti-Black racism. We can't overcome white supremacy. So the reasoning for having this event today about sharing our Black stories, and sharing our stories, not just Black people, but Jews and the police officers and the community agencies, is because we want to make systemic changes for the betterment of humanity. So this is what Regent Park Black Lives Matter Coalition is all about. Peter Scott was very instrumental in the pushing of this, or the forming of this Coalition, because Peter and I have a connection through Regent Park, through his work with the University of Toronto, doing the small business program, which he'll share upon. And I did the small business program as well. And that's how we connected. And we talked about doing this event and making it a success. Canoes was found on Daniel's construction site on Sumac and Dundas. And for me personally, because I have a history of family members living in the United States, because the noose represents a time in our history going back 400 years to our slavery, where Black people had no rights. We couldn't vote. We were slaves on plantations, and we could not do anything. And a noose is pretty much an insidious reminder for me that we have no power. We could not do anything. We could not eat when we wanted to eat. We could not get up when we wanted to eat. We could not love who we wanted to love. And our families were separated. And the noose, it hurts me to see a noose in my community of Regent Park, because it goes to show me that the hatred is not escaped. The hatred is still here in Regent Park. Regent Park is not new to hatred and police brutality and white supremacy and white privilege. And the noose is a reminder that once upon a time, we had no voice, not only in the States, but in Canada, because we were slaves here in Canada too, even though my family, our ancestors, our elders came here for freedom, but we were still enslaved here. So the noose represents a strangling of our freedom, a strangling of our justice, a strangling of our equality. But at the same token, it raises up my power as a Black woman to speak up against the hatred, because I'm not here in Regent Park to just survive. I'm here to thrive, and I will not let any noose deter me from speaking. I will not let any police brutality or racism deter me from fighting for my people and respecting my ancestors who did the hard work, so that I can have this opportunity to be able to share without having the fear of speaking. So that's what the noose personally represents to me. And I also want to reiterate, my great-grandfather was a lawyer in New York, and he was murdered in New York. Like I mentioned before, I don't know if he represented the government or the mafia, but the noose is a symbolic tie for me because of the history of the Americas. And so I'm here to disrupt all anti-Black racism, all white supremacy, and all white privilege, so that not just for Black people, but for all people who go through the struggle of racism, our Indigenous brothers and sisters, our people of color, our racialized community, because together we are stronger, and together we can live in harmony and in peace, and we can move forward, because our youth, our Black youth, our Indigenous youth, our people of racialized colored youth, and even our white brothers and sisters, if we all work together, mobilize together, we can live in a society free of racism, free of hate, and we can move forward in love, beauty, and truth. And Martin Luther King said this: either we live together and love each other as brothers, or we will all perish together as fools. The arc of the moral universe is long, but it will bend towards justice. And education is power. It's a weapon, as Nelson Mandela said. And so I use my weapon, my voice, to speak truth to power and to speak truth against hate. The noose represents hate, and I denounce hate, all kinds of hate. So I thank you for the privilege and the honor to speak to you today on behalf of the Regent Park Black Lives Matter Coalition.
My name is Peter Scott, and I know Joanne from working with the Regent Park Business Program that was connected to the University of Toronto, Rotman School of Management, and Joanne took that program, and we kept in touch, and we ran into each other after 15 years at Harbourfront, and I decided to support her with this event. I thought that the vision she had for this event was unique, and it struck a chord with me, because if you look at my logo, you'll see that I have a logo called Generation Connection, and she wanted to do a generational conversation. And so there was a perfect fit. And you know, it wasn't hard to make the connection that what she's trying to do is impacts me as a black person. And so our values were aligned, and there was no hesitation in me saying that I can help you, and what do you need? And so that's how it began. It began 4 weeks ago at Harborfront. We ran into each other, and I decided to support her with this event. So yeah, so that's the beginning. And now in terms of the planning wise, you know, like everything else, any kind of grassroots organization event, it really is kind of boots on the ground, and how many hands you have, how many volunteers you have. It's a labor of love. We don't do this to make money. We don't do this to make friends. We do this because there's a social cause associated with it. We do it because we want to bring awareness, educational awareness on strong issues like anti-black racism, first and foremost, systemic racism, Islamophobia, white supremacies, all of the big ticket isms that you hear about. We are trying to create some kind of awareness through conversation, and ultimately we're trying to create space for people to tell stories, specifically black folks in Regent Park to tell stories. Black folks in Regent Park to tell their stories, how they are feeling. This event came on the tail of George Floyd, the death of George Floyd in the United States, that galvanized the United States and the world to think about and rethink the way policing exists in cities around the world. It highlights the brutality, the pattern of brutality of police. It highlights the importance of care for black bodies. It highlights the importance of coming together so that we don't self-implode as a society. It highlights economic challenges that were there before. In the middle of a pandemic, it has exposed some of the things that we already know, that proportionally black folks are proportionally more impacted by the pandemic. It has exposed the blatant systemic racism that exists in employment process, policies and procedures towards black folks. And it exposed some of the undercurrents of poverty that exists right here in Regent Park. And my colleague Joanne is trying to address that. She's been working as a social worker for many years in Regent Park, trying to work and do her part in helping with the people that are experiencing trauma in Regent Park. So this event actually is not trying to solve things overnight. It's certainly trying to create space for a dialogue. And so when we say stories, the public forum stories, what we really mean is really creating space to have a conversation, creating space to have a conversation so people can listen. People can listen to one another. That's part of the problem, is that we felt that people are not listening to one another anymore as much as they used to. And so we felt that by creating the space and holding the space, people could leave here listening to one another and having a sense of belonging, a sense of participation, a sense of allyship, a sense of brotherhood, a sense of motherhood, a sense of sisterhood. Overall, we're trying to create a space of healing, a process of healing. We're trying to discover how we can work together towards some kind of economic prosperity. Very, very challenging things. All of the things that we're touching on are very, very challenging. And that's why Regent Park, that's why Joanne has set out to create the Regent Park Black Lives Matter Coalition, because we need to come together. We need to come together and have a conversation we need to come together and put our heads together and think strategically about how we can make the world a better place, how we can move the needle and share economic value with people who are less fortunate. Those are some of the things that we need to do together. And we need to think together and work together and to overcome some of these challenges. Barack Obama, the ex-president of the United States, one of his words, one of his slogans that Joanne and I and our team has adopted is change start with a story. And we really take that by heart. We took that by heart in that change start with a story, and we hope that this event has sort of rekindled the idea that by sharing stories, people can actually feel that people are listening, other people are listening. And so those are some of the things that we were trying to achieve with this event, to create space so people can tell their story, tell how they're feeling about things. A couple of weeks ago, paraphernalia nooses were left on some of the Daniel Spectrum sites, not just in Regent Park, but all over the city. And those type of symbolics represent the Jim Crow history of America that are alive and well here in Canada. And those are some of the things that we're trying to work against. We're trying to work against those currents. We're trying to create space to take care of the people that are experiencing trauma when they see those nooses at those construction sites. We're trying to create a process of healing, a way of working together and trying to overcome some of these challenges. So we need allies, and we need allies outside of the communities and inside of the communities. So those are some of the things that are dear to us in terms of how we went about our business and what we're trying to achieve.
Hi, I'm Raphael Fixton Noir. I'm a Toronto police officer, and I've been on the job for 15 years, and I've been down here at 51 Division for my whole entire career so far. My experiences as a community member growing up in Regent Park has been phenomenal. I had a phenomenal childhood growing up. I had my great mother. She was able to take care of us and supply food for myself and my brothers here in Canada, in Toronto, for our whole entire lives, and ensure that we were growing up and being responsible adults in our lives, despite being from Regent Park, which is the idea that's been put out to the world, is that Regent Park is bad, scary. But if you look around, you see the different things and the different community groups that are in Regent Park. And I had an opportunity to be a part of this community, which was a legitimate community. When we had community events, everybody was here. Not just one little small section of the community, the whole entire Regent Park community was out and in full force. This field would have been filled with hundreds of people, hundreds of people, music playing, people enjoying, mothers cooking, and everything else like that in our community, because the community worked together to run events and to have people working together in our communities. So I had that upbringing where I could be in North Regent and something happened, and by the time I get home in South Regent, my mom already knew about it. So as a community, Regent Park, I had that part to growing up, and it was a fantastic experience that I got to be a part of. Being on the job and being able to do this job has also given me the opportunity to look from it from a different lens and perspective, to be able to see that, yes, there are policing. As a police officer, you have responsibility to do the job, but sometimes when you're doing this job, people think that just because I'm wearing this uniform is going to change who the type of person that I am. And it hasn't done that yet, and I don't think as far as I'm concerned, out of being there for half of my career right now, it's not going to change how I am as a police officer and as a human being. Sometimes people do bad things in our community, and sometimes those bad people have to be held accountable and they have to be arrested, and that's what happens sometimes as an officer. You have to do those hard decisions make those hard decisions and arrest people that are involved with violent crimes or with just crime, period. So at the end of the day, as a police officer, on this end of the spectrum and seeing Regent Park as a whole, I know that in my position as an officer who's grown up in Regent Park, that sometimes you have to arrest your friends. Sometimes you have to arrest your friends that you grew up with, or people that you've grown up with, or their kids, or their children, or their children's children, or in those type of situations. But that's just the way policing is. Sometimes you're going to have to do things that you don't want to do and put yourself in dangerous situations where you don't want to be. And then also, sometimes you're going to have to be treated as the bad person and the person that people don't like, because they're looking for somebody to blame for different situations and things that happen in the communities. And because you're wearing this uniform doesn't mean that you're changing and you're not that person anymore. As being an officer and as a black man being on this job, it's there's things that people don't understand. In my position that I am in right now, I have also the responsibility now of dealing with people who feel that they've been racially profiled, or that there's been something in that sense where they're being accused of something because of their skin color, when it's been a generated call or whatever the case is. I'm not denying the fact that that does happen. I'm not denying the fact that sometimes people get stopped and questioned regarding their whereabouts just because they're in the neighborhood, and that does happen on this job. But I know with the criticism that people are putting out there towards us, it's something that people feel, and that people's ideas are around that they feel that defunding the police will help with the problem that will help with the problem with racism and stuff that's happening in the service. I know for myself, I know that I'm a black man all the time. So whether I'm wearing this uniform or with my ball cap and hoodie on, walking down the street or going to the store, I know that there's a huge, it doesn't change who I am as a black person. It doesn't mean that I get treated a certain way because I'm a black police officer. In fact, there's a lot more of a heavy criticism on me being a black police officer because people think and are expecting something to be done more. And done more in a sense where sometimes they should be getting a break, sometimes they should be treated different ways and everything else. But as people who are in violent crimes, if somebody has a gun, whether it's a black person, white person, an Asian person, doesn't make a difference, that person has to be treated the same way as anybody else. I know that I do that. I know that I do that as a person, but I can't deny that it does not happen with other people, other officers and everything. I've never been at every gun call. I've never been at every situation where it involves violent crimes or anything like that. But I do know that every time that I'm at a call, I do my best to treat people the same way that I'd want to be treated, even if I had made a mistake and done something in the situation where I'm in. But I do want people to understand that I'm a black man all the time. Black man in the service, black man when I'm going home.
My name is Miguel Avila. I'm a TCSC resident. I live in Regent Park since 2010. I am a member of the indigenous community from Peru. I'm here in solidarity with Joanne and Peter and Walid. My friends put together this event. I'm here in support to speak and join in the conversation that is important. The social inequalities that we are witnessing across Turtle Island and United States calls for a call of action, a call of change, to speak on these injustices and move forward together as a society to eliminate any form of racism or anti-racism. My brothers, the black and the indigenous community, have been always hit hard by racism, and I'm glad that so many allies come out, members of the settled community, from European background. They're supporting us. They love that to see change, especially to defund the Toronto police. They want to see some changes in relation to how much, why they're paying so much little for housing and for daycare, and how come they had to pay so much on property taxes to cover the high expenses of the police budget, which is $1 billion. So people are becoming aware more and more and more, speaking out about these issues. And here we are in Regent Park in a beautiful afternoon and enjoying a conversation in peace. So in June 16, 2012, I was walking around the South Region part of Regent Park, and I was with my dog at the time, and then I noticed like 7 to 8 police officers and bicycles having they arrested a 13-year-old kid. The argument for that arrest was because he spit on the ground. His friends were trying to free him. They were desperate to let him go. The police getting agitated. So I decided to get my camera out and start to record it, the interaction between the officers and the kids. I stood between them with my camera to ensure the safety of the children, because in my opinion, it was an abuse of authority, it was an abuse of power, and thankfully the kid, after the arrest, he was let go. He was not arrested and taken to custody. He was let go. But you know, that shows that if we don't keep accountable our police officers, we were never going to change the culture of the police. We had to change the culture of police by keeping them accountable all the time. And 2 years later, one of the kids that saw me at that event on June the 16th, 2012, he came to me and says, "Miguel, thank you so much for standing up with us. I feel that your presence was important at the time. I feel very happy that you were with us." And it makes me happy. And it makes me happy to see that someone recognizes my work years later. It's very heart welcoming.
Hi, my name is Sugar, and I am part of the Regent Park community. I'm also part of a group called Access to Recreation. And what we do is we help residents in Regent Park get better access to our aquatic center and to the recreation center. And the work continues, and it's become a struggle for residents in Regent Park to have access to our swimming pool and to our rec center across the street. And we are doing our best as a group and as a community to get better access for our youth and for our residents. What brought me here today is just a slogan that Black Lives Matter. Our Black Lives Matter, our youth lives matter, all youth lives matter, but currently the situation with our Black youth is paramount, and it's important to address it and to know that they face a lot of barriers here in Regent Park with regards to to racism, to them being Black, and also stereotypes that all the young Black boys and men down here are gangsters and they just want to carry guns and sell drugs. And that's actually not true. One thing that actually happened today was I took 5 youth to our first aid CPR course. And the goal is for them to become employed and to be employable. And they completed their first aid CPR course today. And I'm very proud of them, and their parents are very proud of them. And the next step is for them to get employment. But that's one of the barriers here in Regent Park, is we don't see enough of our youth in positions that will allow them to make positive impact on the community. And what my goal is as a community worker, through volunteering I make sure that our youth are taken care of, that their voices are heard, and that they have the opportunities that they deserve, which is to have a normal life, just to have a normal life, to be able to work in their community and to earn an honest paycheck by working in the community and working with their peers. So that's something that I've taken up as my passion, and is something that I will continue to do for a very long time. One other thing that these youth accomplished here in Regent Park is the allotting of $500,000 through the STP table, which happened at City Hall, where they deputed to ensure that these funds were given to residents in Regent Park. And they came out in numbers, all youth, all youth, all marginalized youth of color. They came out and they deputed at City Hall in front of, you know, all the councilors, and they made it clear as to what they want. And because of their hard work and their dedication to advocating for themselves, they were able to secure $500,000 for programming in Regent Park. And that's something that, you know, has probably never happened before. And, you know, we're all proud of them. The community is proud of them. And we just need to make sure that what they deputed for happens. And one of the things was that they want to see a football team, an American football team, happen here in Regent Park to bring the community together and the surrounding communities, including Moss Park, Bleecker, Regent Park, of course, and Pembroke. So that's a vision that these young men have, and you know, with the support of the community and other agencies, their wish for a football team will come true. And you know, every day our youth face, you know, racism in this community, especially because gentrification has taken place here in Regent Park. And it's something that you know, was here before, but it's you know, even worse now, and it has to be addressed. And this platform today with Black Lives Matter, Regent Park, I think addressed, you know, the tip of the iceberg. I think that with more community input, involvement, you know, people coming together, we can break barriers. You know, we can change the mindsets of people. Maybe not all, but you know, we have to try and always continue to make sure that we are changing, you know, changing people's outlooks towards Black people in Regent Park, especially our youth, on a continuous basis. And you know, my hope for Regent Park is that we learn to respect each other, to respect the people who were here before gentrification, the Black families, the South Asian families, and you know, all the minority families that have built Regent Park and have seen the sufferings and the tribulations that, you know, that we face here in Regent Park. And I want to make sure that, you know, those people aren't forgotten, that their stories aren't forgotten, and that, you know, we continue to grow, and that, you know, we as a community, you know, come out on top and let anyone coming into our community know that racism is not accepted here, it's not welcome, and we will do whatever we have to do to make sure that it doesn't exist in our community.
Hi, my name is Ismail Afra. I am the Regent Park Neighborhood Association Community Coordinator, and I've lived in this neighborhood for about 19 years, and what I've learned is that anti-Black racism is not something new. The fact that we found a noose hanging in one of the construction sites is a very physical way of something that's always been affecting us in a very personal way. I myself, who's been volunteering in the neighborhood, who's been working in the neighborhood, have seen how the different experiences we face as black people in some of these. We do the same amount of work, we have the same amount of intelligence, however opportunities are not forthcoming for us. So what I want to say is the fact that Joanne Warner had made this event, we need to directly change these situations. We can be concerned about many things, but I think Joanne has shown us that we have influence. And when we have different people at the table, we can bring accountability to those who have power. So I'm really happy that this event has taken place and that for the first time serious conversations could take place. So I just want to say thank you, Joanne, for coordinating this. My own personal experience facing anti-black racism is I think for a long time I've been in denial. I used to think that this neighborhood, that this country that has the same amount of that has this big wealth, that there would be opportunities for all of us. But we've seen that opportunities is not equally shared for everybody. So for instance, in this neighborhood, I've been working and volunteering for the past 3 years. And in those 3 years, I've seen how difficult it is to find meaningful employment in the neighborhood. And the reason has always been because they're looking for, it's all about relationships. It's all about who knows who. And if enough black people are not in the leadership, or what they call in the boards, in the executive director, in the hiring committees, then opportunities are closed off to them. So this is not just something that's happening across the world. This also happens in this neighborhood. And luckily, I think through conversations like this, we can tackle that. For instance, in this neighborhood, we have the social development plan, and in that plan, there's an employment table. And in that employment table, we are putting efforts into making and changing policies. So this is not about one single person, what they call being anti-black racist. This is a whole system and policies and processes that make black people not get opportunities.
Hello my friends, my name is Walid Kogali Ali. Thank you for tuning into Regent Park TV. I'm a community organizer based in Regent Park. I'm one of your neighbors, and I'm going to quickly talk about our event today that was hosted by the Regent Park Black Lives Matter Coalition, which brought all of us out to our park to speak to the impact of anti-black racism and white supremacy systemically, whether it's at work, whether it's through accessing public services, or whether it's accessing opportunities in our community, especially services and housing, which is crucial to our community. I want to thank all of you that showed up today. We really appreciate the support. Please join the Black Lives Matter Coalition here in Regent Park. And you can also contact me, Walid Kogali, for more information. I've heard a lot from you about the impact of hate, not just right now, but also during the municipal elections a couple of years ago, where you told me that you would like to see systemic change. You would like investments in our community. You would like good jobs. You would like spaces for our youth and the elderly. And what's more important is making sure that we have community safety that is brought locally, that is administered locally by folks living in our community. So I've heard those demands clearly, and we're working together with you to ensure that we do not have cuts, an agenda of austerity, but we have the investments in our community to support all of us, not just some of us, and also to tackle the impact of anti-black racism. Racism has not disappeared from our communities. We have a lot to do to tackle the impact of hate and racism, and I want to encourage each one of you to participate, whether it's at work, whether it's at home, whether it's through common spaces. Let's have that conversation going so we could tackle the impact of hate, and we could live in a society where all of us, no matter how we look, can achieve our full potential. So thank you so much for tuning in.
Please do not forget to like, comment, and share to our channel. Follow us on all our social media platforms. And for more information, please check out our website.